Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Now, Ecosoul Home, an eco-friendly home essentials product startup, backed $10 million in a Series A round. The round was led by Axel and saw participation from Singh Capital Partners. The firm plans to use the funds for international expansion and launch new products. Joining me now to discuss this further is Rahul Singh, the co-founder of Ecosoul. Rahul, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. There has been a rise in consumer sentiment over the years for more sustainable everyday essentials. Talk to us about the products you have on offer. What are the kind of materials you use to make them?
Hey, Arundhati and Ritu, thank you so much for having me on the show first, right? So you're right. Yeah, we are seeing a very seismic shift in the consumer behavior with respect to sustainability. In fact, a recent Nielsen study found that 78% of the consumer actually want to go eco-friendly if they have a viable alternative to the existing plastic and paper products. And I think this trend is actually increasing by the day. So in order to cater to that trend, right, today Ecosoul across 6 lines of products sells more than 1,000 product SKUs, mostly in the US, North American, Canada, and the Western markets like UK, Europe. We have just launched a brand in India as well, and we have seen tremendous traction in India.
All right, you've also made your products much more affordable versus early eco-friendly players and also at par with plastic and paper goods. So how do you keep costs competitive? Also tell us about your best-selling products.
Sure. So essentially, this is why we actually started Ecosoul, right? Because we wanted to break the myth that going eco-friendly is expensive, right? So in order to keep the product cost, and really compete with single-use plastic, so we apply 3 formula, right? One is essentially having an on-the-ground operations team. So we don't work with any traders or middlemen. We work directly with farmers, directly with the manufacturers of the company. We have an AI-supported supply chain. So we're fully automated, me being the global head of supply chain for Wayfair before starting the company. And the third thing we do is essentially we bring innovative products to the market. So we brought a lot of products to the market that are really from farm waste to actual products, like think rice husk, wheat starch, cornstarch, think bagasse, palm leaf. These are some of the products that were literally burnt in boilers before we started creating the products out of that. And we have seen tremendous growth once we introduced these products in the market.
All right. You've raised $10 million. So tell me, what do you plan to do with the funds? Obviously, geographical expansion and new products is on top of the agenda.
That is correct, right? So essentially, think of our $10 million as a war chest against plastic, right? So we are at a constant war with plastics day in, day out. So one thing that we'll be doing, we'll be bringing more innovative products to the market, think fully compostable diapers. We'll be bringing products in the personal care, home care. We'll also be expanding in the North American market in the retail side. But Asian market becomes a very large focus for us after this fundraise. We are going to invest heavily in our expansion in India. And we'll also augment our supplier base and manufacturing base in India. In fact, we believe that by 2024, India can become our single largest hub for manufacturing eco-friendly products for our global markets.
All right. And what about revenues? Where do you hope to end this year? What's the online versus offline mix at this point?
So one of the great things about building a product or a company that is really eco-friendly is that our revenue is actually driven a lot by the customer demand. So over the last 1 year, we have seen 1,000% growth. So essentially, we have 10x our revenue. And not only that, what we are more proud about is essentially all the products line that have been in the market for us for more than a year, they are already becoming profitable. And we are inching closer and closer to the profitability as a whole for the company. So essentially, as we see from here on, we'll actually targeting a revenue of more than $50 million ARR by the end of this financial year.
All right. And US continues to be your biggest market. So what kind of revenues are you clocking from there? Talk to us about the Indian market and its potential at this point.
So US will continue to remain, and not just US, by the way, I'll basically put North America in one category, will continue to remain one of the largest markets for us. More than 65% of the revenue will still continue to come from the US as a market. However, when we launched our products in India in December 2022, right, India really surprised us, right? The traction that we are seeing in India and the consumer love that we are seeing in India is just phenomenal. So essentially, while US will continue to remain the large market for us, India will hopefully contribute between 10 and 15% of our overall revenue by the end of the financial year. In terms of online and offline mix, today we are almost 50-50. But as we scale, right, we really want to meet the customers where they are. And today, for home essentials category, 85% of the customers still shop at a store. So essentially, we will basically see by the end of this year, offline will contribute close to 60 to 65% of our revenue, with today's 50%.
All right. And give us a sense of the kind of insights you're getting from your consumer. Talk to us about how you view each of your markets and how do you customize based on consumer needs and preferences?
Yeah, so essentially, so the good part is essentially like, consumers are very clear like what they want, right? They want plastic free, tree free, and they don't want products, right, that is actually going to live in a landfill about 1,000 years. So couple of things that we do is essentially we have on the ground marketing teams that actually look at all the consumer trends and what our consumers want. We customize those products according to each market when we launch the product. And essentially that helps us win in the global market, right?
Right.
So, for example, right, the products that we sell in India, right, are very customized to the Indian market. Like we have 4-compartment trays because we know that people actually eat, for example, pav bhaji or idli in that, right? So essentially, there are a lot of product level customization that happens for individual markets that we enter.
All right. Okay, Rahul, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We're completely out of time and we wish you all the best going forward.
Thanks, Arun. Thank you so much for having me here.